All right, we're ready to get started with our differentiated monitoring systems, level 2, 3, and 4 support. So we've kind of combined this presentation for everybody who may have been designated in level 2, 3, or 4 this year instead of separating these PowerPoints out. And so last Friday or early Monday morning, you should have gotten a packet of all of your information, of all of your data, and in that should have been some information telling you which level of support you're at. And my name is Tina Spence here at the State Department of Ed. I am the Director of Compliance and Monitoring. So to answer a couple of questions that we've had so far before we get started, we will post this recording on the website so that if you want to hear it again, it'll be there for you to access. We will also print just the PowerPoint presentation. So if you want to hear it again and you want to have your slides as you listen to it again, then you'll be able to print those off separately to make notes on it if that is manageable for you or something you would like to do. What was the other question? Oh, the same webinar as on Friday. So this is a different webinar than what's on Friday. Friday, we're talking about the districts who have been designated under compliance. So that's indicators 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So a little bit different there. And that presentation will also be recorded and posted on the website as well. So we've separated those out. So some of you may need to attend both of these. Some may just one. So you'll need to look at and determine which one you need. And if all else fails, register and participate with both. And then we will post that information as well on the website. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is just a real brief understanding of differentiated monitoring. We're going to talk about what is required for each level, level 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to talk about and make sure that everybody knows where do we go and exactly what is expected to improve in those areas. And then, of course, we'll have some time for some questions and answers if you have any. So we're going to start with our differentiated monitoring. We do have our general supervision system manual that is posted on the State Department website. It's under Part B, the little blue tab off to the right on the State Department of Ed Special Ed website. Click on Part B and then go down to compliance. It will be the first link on there. So that manual will explain a lot more of this differentiated monitoring system process than what I'm going to go through today. So if you have additional questions, please go to that manual to get additional questions and information. But in our differentiated monitoring, we are really looking at not only just that are you compliant in the indicators, but we're looking at student outcomes. We're looking at physical as well to see how are you doing in these areas. So we're also very much looking at student outcomes. How are the students progressing? So the whole intent is, you know, your whole special ed program is not only to be compliant with state and federal, but it is also to ensure the students are progressing and able to demonstrate their mastery of those skills as they move through. So in our differentiated monitoring, our DMR, we look at you get a risk score and a determination rating. Those are two scores that each district gets, and that will determine your level of support or your DMR level of support, the reason that you're here today, either a level 2, 3, or 4. And then you got that information Friday or early Monday. And a few people had to hold off until Monday just because here at the State Department we had a huge internet shortage access that went out, and we were unable to complete some of those emails out to you guys. But if you didn't get your information, be sure and certainly contact us, and we can certainly make sure that you get that. Okay, so let's talk about the levels of support. We're going to start with level 2. So if you've been designated as level 2, there are 4 levels of supports, but level 2 is where we're talking about today. You've been identified either as risk, as like maybe a very low risk, or determination is a needs assistance. And so if your determination was a level 2 of needs assistance, then that's where you fall as a level 2 for your DMR. And it just means that you're going to need a little bit of assistance to help improve. So hopefully we don't move on to a level 3 or 4. There was approximately over 253 districts in level 2 this year and only 87 last year. So a jump in our level of supports for level 2 this year. Level 3 supports, if you were, say, for instance, a level 3 for determination needs intervention, or if you a level 2 for risk, we're taking whichever one is the lowest of the two. But there was 54 districts this year, and there was only about 13 last year. Level 4, we have one district this year, and we had none last year on any of this, on level 4 for all of this. Okay, so that was just a real quick overview. So we're going to break it down a little bit more on what is required for each of your level of activities, because this is really where you're needing to know, if you're level 2, 3, or 4, what is it that we have to do. So all of that, everybody got two ratings that come into this differentiated monitoring. And so what I'm going to do now is, this chart here is not new, but we're going to take it for level 2, what is expected, and talk a little bit about that. And the same for 3 and 4. But all that information is going to be coming from this information here on this slide. And again, this is spelled out even more in that general supervision manual. So if you have additional questions, please make sure and go to that manual or contact us, and we can certainly help to answer that. All right, so for level 2, required improvement activities. If you're a level 2, here's what is expected that you need to do. There's going to be some front-loaded technical assistance. What that means is, if we have any information that we think may be of assistance to you, we'll let you know. The State Department of Ed has provided tons of different professional development opportunities. So it could be you want to access some information and professional development that we offer on Pepper, or some other professional development opportunities that we have. So if you are a level 2 for physical, you may want to make sure that you attend some of the physical budgets and some of their workshops that they offer. So it just depends on that. So we provide a lot of professional development that could be front-loaded to help support you in those areas. And then some targeted technical assistance. For whatever reason you are a level 2, we can certainly provide targeted information just strictly to that area to help you to look at that and to make some changes in your district to grow and to do better. And there is a self-assessment that you will be required to do in Grants Management System, GMS, this year. And there is an improvement plan piece to that is located in that. It's on the improvement activity. And I'm going to show you exactly where all this is and what all it looks like here in just a little bit. And then your professional development modules. Now, please keep in mind the professional development modules must be aligned to your self-assessment, must be aligned to your improvement plan, must be aligned to why you have identified that you're struggling in that area. So we don't want you to have a professional development on something that's not even related to why you have been designated as a level 2. Level 3 gets the front-loaded technical assistance that I just talked about. It's the targeted technical assistance and the self-assessment and the professional development module. So all of that is the same as level 2. However, you also are going to be required to attend a data retreat and an improvement plan. And in that improvement plan are some progress monitoring toward your plan. How are you working toward that? Some additional activities on that. And you could either get a targeted on-site monitoring or a comprehensive on-site monitoring. And so with that, what we're meaning is the targeted is targeted strictly to just that area, or comprehensive, that we realize that, we need to add some additional supports to your district to ensure compliance and help you moving forward with the supports that you provide to students with disabilities. And so we will look and determine which one that we feel is going to best meet your needs, because when we're on site and we're going through this process, we want to make sure that we are fully helping you in every capacity, in every way that we can, while we're sitting there visiting and talking. So level 4 district has everything we've talked about, the front-loaded technical assistance, the targeted, the self-assessments, the professional development modules. They also have to attend the data retreat, an improvement plan, targeted on-site, I shouldn't have said targeted, it should be a comprehensive on-site monitoring. And then there's always the option of withholding funds. That's nothing that we really want to do or are going to always jump to do. But we must notify level 4 that that is an option that we have. Okay, here's some dates to remember. So the dates that we want you to remember is for levels 2, 3, and 4, your plan in GMS, in Grants Management System, needs to be submitted on or before December 31st. Now, we'll have our data retreat that's going to be in January, so if we need to tweak that, this plan is available for you to tweak because we want this to be a living, breathing document for you guys to edit as needed as you move through this process. So our goal is that we get something started, that we don't hold off too long on getting a plan, getting a team together to look at why are we struggling in this area and how do we improve. And so that's why we moved it to December 31st to make sure that we're pulling that team together, looking at information. After the data retreat for level 3 and 4, then if they need to tweak that plan according to what they learned from the data retreat, we are certainly want to help move that direction and make sure that the plan that you have is manageable for your district and implemented, and data is gathered to support whether or not this is a great plan or we need to tweak it. So that's the purpose in that. And then after that plan, through May of 2020, we want you to implement it, monitor it, provide the staff the professional development, and submit that information to us. And then by May 31st, we need to submit the professional development documentation, the agenda and sign-in sheet. And we're going to look to make sure that aligns with what you had said and aligns with your plan to help improve in those areas. If you have your professional development done earlier and you would like to submit it earlier, you are always welcome to do that. You do not have to hold off until the end of May to submit that information. And so with your plan, level 3 and 4 are required to review data to show you more than us how is this plan working? Are we making an impact? Are we making some gains in those areas? So by March 31st and June 30 of 2020, this spring, you will need to report to us in the same system how are you doing toward those goals that you had. And so we'll talk a little more on that, but this is, again, it's just required the data reporting piece for level 3 and 4. I will tell you level 2s, if you want to do that, you are always welcome to do that. So the self-assessments, the purpose in the self-assessments are to bring together a group of people. So some of those people that we would really like to see you pull together are administrators, maybe a building administrator, a special ed director, maybe a gen ed teacher. It may be a special ed teacher. It could be some people from different buildings. It could be just one building. You know, if you're talking high school and for indicator 13 or graduation dropout, and you find out that most of our problems are happening in the high school level, well, maybe not high school staff there, or maybe junior high and high school staff. So you need to look at that and determine who needs to be at the table. Because if this is completed by one person, then it's only one person's perspective of what is going well in our district and where we need to improve. So you need a team to help support you in this work that you're doing and to help figure out where we need to improve. And there's self-assessments, paper ones available on the State Department of Ed website, the compliance page, that you can utilize and download to help you through this process. And then you will report this information in GMS. So once your team is finished, then you can enter the information in Grants Management System, GMS, and submit it to us. Professional development, the expectations for that. Now remember, if your area is has to do with, say, graduation dropout, then we're going to look to see if your professional development is going to help to grow your staff in that direction. So we want to make sure that there's a connection, not that it's titled exactly the same, but there needs to be some kind of connection. So we certainly don't want graduation dropout and you decided, oh, we're going to do something with on the physical side. So there's no connection there. So as long as we can see some kind of connection, that's the whole point. It needs to have a plan to grow in the areas for which you are struggling in whichever staff. So the professional development may not be happening. You may not provide it to all of your staff. It may be that you want to start with just special ed teachers and say for graduation dropout, maybe we need to start looking at what are the accommodations and supports we're providing these children. How are we going to monitor this? And then at another professional development time, you may want to bring in gen ed teachers as a part of that professional development. It could be if you're identified for physical, that you only need your administration people that deal with the physical side to attend those. It may not be all special ed and gen ed teachers. It may be administrative people that need to attend. So your audience is going to vary according to your area of need and what your plan is. And so what we're looking for is not necessarily a title, or you can kind of give it a title, but a kind of a description on what it is. You may not have a title and that's fine, but kind of the date. So the purpose in going ahead and submitting a date is because we need it to go ahead and be scheduled on one of your professional development days. Or if you have monthly meetings with certain staff and you want to do it, then that's fine as well. But have a plan and have it on a calendar to make sure that it happens. And then who is your intended audience for your professional development? Okay, for the on-site monitoring, we will send a letter to the superintendent. We try a lot of times send them to the special ed directors as well on what's the date that we're going to be coming on site. And then afterwards, we like to send the report within about 45 days. That's our goal. It's not always happens that way. This year, it may be a little more of a challenge just because there's a lot of sites that we need to monitor this year. But we're looking at, in your report, there could be some corrective actions that may include student level corrections, maybe some professional development or revising and reviewing of policies, practices, and procedures as another piece that you may need to do in order to help bring the district into compliance in those areas. And then there could be some other activities that maybe together we talk about with you and determine maybe a benefit to help you through that. Comprehensive is pretty much the same with that as well. So the data retreat, real quick, it'll be a 2-day. So plan on 2 days back to back for the data retreat. We do have to split it up because there are so many districts and we want to make sure that we have ample time to work with you guys at the data retreats. So there will be one scheduled the week of January 13th, one the week of January 20th. And so the week of January 13th will be a 2-day. The week of January 20th, there'll be a 2-day. You will be notified of which date we need you there and the times and the locations of where to be. So all of that is still being worked out at this time. Just know that one of those 2 weeks, if you're a level 3 and 4, you're going to need to plan to attend. So we would like to see a special ed director, maybe administrator, gen ed teacher, special ed teacher, some of those kinds of staffs to come and help support you as you understand this data and to understand where you need to head to go. And then we'll let you know of some information and data you need to have available, either bring with you or have the logins with you to make sure that you can access this information during this data retreat so that you can start digging into your data and figuring out what's going well, where do we need to focus. All right. So now we're going to talk about the grants management program here. So we've made a lot of changes to it from last year. So if you worked on this last year, then we will certainly, this will certainly look a little familiar to you, but we've added, it looks completely different as far as what we've done in it. So the first thing you're going to do is log in to single sign-on, and then you're going to go to just above where it says GMS access and select. It's the link just above it that says special education compliance. Now you may not have all of these pieces in here that we have on our access, but you should have special education compliance, and that's what you're going to click to go into for this program. So here are the tabs across the top. These are the main tabs, and then there's going to be some sub-tabs underneath these. The first one's going to be an overview. And so on the overview, it just tells you a little bit about it. And then here's the contact information for Felisa and Cheryl, who will be working and assisting every one of you guys through this process. So if you have questions, you can certainly contact them by phone number or email, and here's how you can quickly access that information. On the contact information page, that information pulls from your, I can't even remember, LEA assurances. So if their information in your contact is incorrect there, you'll have to go to the other area, LEA assurances, in order to correct that, your contact information. So the bulk of what you're going to do in GMS is under the district entry tab. And here you see that it breaks down to 2 tabs. So you have the compliance and you have the DMR, or differentiated monitoring results tab. Today we're going to focus under the DMR tab. Friday we'll talk about the compliance tab here. So if you're here for tomorrow, on Friday, then that's the section that we'll go to on that. So you will click district entry and then your differentiated monitoring tab. Now, not every tab you're going to have access to. So we have front loaded this information. If you are not designated for an indicator, then you're going to see a blank page. It'll give you some information about that indicator, so you kind of understand what it, indicator 9 is, or whatever the indicator, and then it's going to tell you that it was intentionally left blank. So, and that's because you don't have to do anything in it. So you don't have to worry about that at all. You can just move right on. And so once you click the DMR tab, then you're going to get some more sub-tabs, and these are all of the information and all the tabs and links underneath the differentiated monitoring. So we started with an overview tab. This tab here is going to break down all of the requirements and the timelines for which you have to complete the information. And so it tells you in here, May 31st, the professional development information, agenda and sign-in sheets are due. On down at the bottom part of it, it's going to tell you that your first submission of all of your self-assessments and your improvement activities are due December 31st. So this information, this tab here, your overview, is where you're going to find out what you need to do, where you need to go, what's expected, and what your timelines are. And then you can click each one of them: physical, indicator 1, 2, indicator 3, C, or 7, and to see what tabs you need to be completed if you don't know exactly which areas. So that's another way you can find that out. So the next piece of information is your improvement activities. Once you've completed those other tabs, you will come here to your improvement activity, and it breaks down into 2 sections. It breaks down into compliance improvement and progress monitoring. So right now we're talking about compliance improvement. So here is where you are going to put in your improvement activity. What are you going to do to improve in that area? And then you're going to be able to select the indicators. You see it's plural here, and we have them all here. The purpose in that is because if some of your indicators that you've been designated for align, you may want to develop an improvement activity that may take in more than one indicator. For instance, indicator 1 and 2 for graduation dropout, and if you were designated for indicator 13 as well, you might decide that where a lot of our problem lies is in the high school. So we're going to work with indicator 13 and making sure that we have great transition plans for these students to encourage them, to help them move forward to finishing school. And then we're going to look at indicator 1 and 2 and what are the other activities that we can do to help ensure that they make it through to school, that they don't drop out. And so you have that option to do that. Now we are going to look at it. So if you put some random indicators together, we're probably going to kick it back because we want to make sure there's a clear alignment between these indicators. Then it's who's going to be responsible, who's going to make sure that this is taken care of, that this is implemented and it's continuing to move forward, to continue to review the data. And then date begin and date completed. The reason we have a date begin and date completed is because you may have multiple improvement activities. You see at the bottom, you can add additional activities. So you can click that to add more than one. And so some of them you may choose that this is the one we want to start with, but once it's finished, we want to start with the next one. So it's kind of thinking ahead. What is everything our data has told us? Here's our improvement activities for everything that we've been non-compliant for, but not all of it we're going to work on same time because, you know, we don't have time, we don't have the capacity to do so. So we're going to take it in small chunks at a time. And this page here is required for level 2, 3, and 4. It's required for all of them. All right, after you've developed your improvement plan, by March 31st and June 30, here's where you come to report how are you doing toward your goal that you were working on. So it looks a lot the same, it's just we're hitting the progress monitoring tab instead of our compliance improvement tab. So in that, we are looking for you to tell us for each improvement activity that you have, what is your data telling you on this? Now, you don't have to put in there, you know, the actual data, you know, for that. You can summarize this. We just need to get a good glimpse that, first of all, we are monitoring this. It's not just something that we've developed a plan, we're not monitoring, we're not making sure that we improve, because our goal is for you to not be designated in those areas again. But also for you to have a check to see, according to our data, if we're not making improvements, why are we not making improvement? What needs to happen? What's the reason for it? Is it because we didn't implement it with fidelity? Well, if that's the case, how are we going to ensure that it's implemented from this point forward with fidelity? If we need to change our plan, you can certainly change your plan. You know, maybe it's because the plan isn't working. According to the data and everything we're looking at, we're heading in the wrong direction. We need to change it. Absolutely. We don't want to wait until the end of the year to change that. My goal for this is for you guys to make this a working document, continue to look at data, continue to determine is the goal we have working, and if not, let's change it. Let's not wait until the next school year to do so. And then what indicators did this one go with? And then again, some of it you may not be working on just yet, and that's fine. So up in the provide a summary box, you may just put that this one we haven't started it yet. And then you can just repeat over the beginning date and completion date that you had. So if you have it to start, you know, April 1, then you can put that in there and plan to implement April 1. You know, or if you need to postpone it, we can certainly do that as well. But it needs to be a document for you guys. The first date for the required progress monitoring is it needs to be entered and submitted by March 31st. So you don't have to do it on March 31st. You can do it earlier than that if you wish. But that's the date kind of halfway through that semester to kind of progress check and see. You may be progress monitoring your plan more often than that. That's fine. You can submit it again if you want to. We just need at least one by March 31st and again by June 30. This progress monitoring piece here is only required for level 2 or level 3 and 4. It is only required for level 3 and 4. However, level 2 districts, this is optional for you, but I would encourage you to utilize this as a mechanism to continue to monitor your goals and your targets, because we certainly don't want to see districts go from a level 2 to a level 3 in any areas, and the whole intent is to figure out where we need to improve and make those improvements. So level 2, it's optional. Level 3 and 4 required. So when you're ready to submit your information, we have Submit for Review tab, and all you have to do is click the submit, that little button where it's right next to where it says Submit for Review. Very simple, not a big process at all. So if you need to upload information, you will go to the data review page. So most of this page here is really for our internal staff. It's where they look at your plan, your professional development you've identified, your improvement activities, your self-assessments, your data progress monitoring that you submit, and then they can answer you back or submit it back to you asking for clarification questions. But the very top piece of it is where you're going to upload your professional development documentation or any other documentation that you would like to have uploaded for us to look at. So definitely this is where professional development will be uploaded. We will need your agenda and sign-in sheets. Again, those are due on or before May 31st. You certainly can do them if you have professional development scheduled for the day, that Monday you come back from spring break. As soon as that's over, you're certainly welcome to upload your agenda and sign-in sheet at that time. You do not have to wait until May 31st to do so. But here's where you're going to upload information. And then if you happen to select the wrong file, there's certainly a button there for you to delete a file out of there. All right, so that is all of the information as far as the expectations and where you go to submit your information for us to review and to help you through this process. One of the things I wanted to make sure that you're aware of is starting last year was our first year, is just to remind you that on GMS Access and Select, you can go there and we have your district data profiles there. There's nothing for you to do. There's not going to be an amend button or anything. This is just where you can click to open and look at it. Now, if you want to see last year's, you will have to go and select last year, and then you can open this one up. Make sure you're in this year's for this current one that was just sent out. But here you have an electronic copy of last year's. You'll have to go back to last year's, select last year's date, and then this year as well. So that if you're home working on something and you didn't bring that paper copy home with you, here's where you can access that information to have an opportunity to look at that. All right, questions. So I had a question on how can we report progress in reading and math scores when we don't have scores or haven't taken tests yet. So I would recommend that you utilize, if you're designated for assessment area, is to maybe looking at your benchmark data is what you're going to use. So we're not necessarily saying what data you're going to utilize. That's for you guys to determine, but that would be my recommendation, is whatever benchmark data that you have for those that you utilize to determine what interventions that these students are going to need in the progress toward those standards. I would use that exact same information. I wouldn't create anything new for this. So optional for level 2, just progress monitoring or progress monitoring and the description of the improvement activity. So for level 2, they need to do the appropriate tabs, and then they will need to do their improvement activity. So basically your improvement plan, you must tell us what that plan is and how you're implementing it. As far as the progress monitoring, that is optional for level 2. I would encourage you to do it, but it is optional for level 2. So there's a question on why we've changed, why there was such a jump in some numbers, and we have changed some of our ways that we calculated this year. And so that has some to do with that. You can certainly go on to GMS or go on to our website and get the General Supervision Manual, and it will explain a lot of that, what information on how that calculation was done. or you're welcome to call and visit, and we can certainly talk a little bit more through that. So any questions on related to certifications with your information, your data, please contact Ginger Elliott Teague and her team. Here is their contact information. So any questions related to how everything was calculated, please do take the time to email them or contact them. They would be happy to visit with you on your specific case in that direction. So there is not a sign-in sheet to show that you participated in this webinar. We do certainly have a way that when you registered on that, but there's not a sign-in sheet for that. We'll be able to access who logged in on that information. Will all levels have on-site monitoring? No, only levels 3 and 4 have either a targeted or a comprehensive monitoring. So can we use professional development that we put in place in August that addresses your area of need? I would encourage you to contact my team. Here's our contact information, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about exactly what was your plan and looking at that. Sometimes we do take those. Sometimes it depends on your area and exactly your audience and information that direction. So let us know on that. Our goal is for you to have the root cause, figure out why that you have been identified, and then provide that professional development to make sure that you're improving in that area. If you've already done some of that work ahead of time, absolutely, we would certainly be willing to discuss that. But we want to make sure that the professional development that you provided in August is really meeting the needs, that it's really tied to why you were designated. So how do you get GMS and single sign-on? If you do not have that, your superintendent will give you access to single sign-on and to that grants management. If you don't have it, they may not, it's up to the superintendent whether or not they give you access to that. So certainly talk to your superintendent on that. So again, just someone asked on the parent survey response rate, that we do have a new parent survey information out. It's through TASE. That information is on our website. Make sure you're not using old information and old parent survey information. And related to that, that is some bonus points if you have a response rate of 50% or greater, or that you can increase your response rate by 5%. So 5% is very manageable for districts, and districts have really shared some creative ways to do that. So we don't necessarily tell you what professional development you need to do. That's, really it's going to be on an individual basis for the district. We do have some professional developments on Pepper that you may utilize as some of that professional development module. We just really want to make sure that the professional development that you choose to provide is going to help improve your district to ensure that we aren't moving from a level 2 down to a 3 or a 3 down to 4. So back to the parent survey, can we provide it on a laptop at the end of the meeting? A lot of districts do that. That is an option, and a lot of districts find that that is very beneficial and useful in getting that done. So yes, that is an option that you can do. Some of it's moving so fast. You guys have got so many questions here. So if you have questions relating to your bonus points, please contact, wrong direction. Please contact my team or the data team, and we can certainly assist you through that.
If I make that bigger, will it throw you off?
Hopefully not. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with all the questions, but they're going so fast. There we go. So level 2, do we need to watch the webinar on Friday? It depends if you've been designated for any compliance areas of 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 13. If you were also identified for those, I would encourage you to participate in that. So on parent survey, I don't know if you leave one blank, if it counts it. I'm assuming it doesn't. It does not. So if a parent leaves one area blank, it's still going to take it. I think there was only 2 bonus points available. Is that all that we did? A max of 2 bonus points available. Please be aware that some of the people who submitted information for the PD bonus points didn't complete the application, or some of their PD wasn't provided to all staff. And so those are some requirements for that. If you have specific questions, we'd be happy to answer those on an individual level. If you contact for the signing up of the webinar, if you contact, it's not moving. How do I get that to move?
Oh, sorry. Now it will.
If you contact someone, Felicia or Cheryl or I, we can certainly send you that link. It was also sent out on our special ed listserv yesterday as well, that you can access that for the Friday's professional development. So I'm not real sure what phone survey is still available that you're referencing. So please contact me and I can certainly assist you with that question. As far as how much what your percentage rate for parent response to the survey, absolutely. If you contact us, we can take care of that for you and provide you that information. I understand that there's only 22 school days left for some of you guys, but we have a short timeline to make sure everything is done, and some of the information that we have to provide to federal level, we have to have already collected. So that's why there's a short timeline. Plus, if we extend it too long, we find that a lot of districts forget about this expectation and they don't get this completed. And then, you know, things aren't submitted timely. So, you know, there's multiple reasons why we have a short timeline. So again, if you have questions on, you know, timely submissions and some of the other information on your reports, be sure and contact our office. Some of that information and some of your questions related to that are going to be specific to your district that we can certainly look and talk about. So ask to talk about technical assistance. So the technical assistance is going to be tied to your areas of need. So whatever areas that you have been identified as not performing at the state target, then we can certainly make sure that that technical assistance can look in various different ways, can meet your needs and your staff needs. So it could be some professional development that we recommend to you, could be that we come and work with staff, could be some resources and other information that we provide to you. So Ginger, they're wanting to know how the reading and math assessment proficiency levels are calculated.
By levels? What do they need? So the proficiency in advanced is determined by the accountability office. So whatever those levels are for all students, that is what we use. And we just have to report the % proficient or advanced. All students are expected to score proficient like every student in our schools.
And so with that, we understand that not all special ed students are going to score proficient in reading and math. We don't expect it for gen ed students, let alone students with disabilities. However, that is the goal and that is the whole intent of our special ed programs, is to help fill in those gaps and help those children to achieve that at appropriate times for them. And there's going to be some kids that don't meet that, and that's just, you know, normal, and that's fine. But our goal is to make sure that our instruction and our tiered levels of supports are meeting the individual needs to ensure that they are growing as best they can. So you can use some on the bonus points for PD. There's specific guidelines. It's got to be provided to all district staff. That means gen ed teachers as well. Sign-in sheets. Pepper is an option that you can utilize, but it's got to meet some of the criterias that's set forth in those guidelines for that professional development to happen. So I have someone that's talking about staff is overwhelmed with all of this information. Please call our office. We can certainly take more time to assist you specific to exactly what your areas are, so that we can help you meet those needs and help you through this process. So if reading and math did not meet standard, do you suggest that we do an improvement plan? If assessment is an area that you've been identified as an area of improvement, you will be required to do that. If you've not been identified for that area, you are certainly able to do that as well if you choose to do that, but it won't be required at that time. So dropout information came from exiting report. So does this include OAP scores as well? It includes everybody, all students with disabilities. So who is actually responsible for gathering the documentation and entering it in GMS? That is certainly up to your district on that. Typically, it's going to be the special ed director, whoever's been assigned that role. But if you don't have access to that, then you probably need to talk to your superintendent and find out their expectations on that. So does the professional development need to take place before December 31st? No, it does not. The professional development must be completed and information submitted to us by May 31st, by the end of this school year. All right, you're going way too fast with questions. So at this point, I think I'm going to recommend that you guys contact us via email or phone call if you have some related to specific with data. Ginger's team would be happy to assist with that. If you need assistance and questions related to the expectations for levels 2, 3, and 4 on DMR, we would be happy to take time to walk you through this again. Again, this information will be recorded and will be posted on our State Department of Ed website. Thank you for participating, and again, please do contact us.